drawer full of cables. None of them fit. Sound familiar? Here's the thing. USB has been around since 1996, and in that time, we've somehow ended up with at least 7 different connector shapes. Same name, completely different plugs. Today I'm going to fix that forever. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what every USB shape is, why it exists, and which ones actually matter in 2024. And I promise, there's a twist about the connector you use every single day that most people never think about. Let's start with the obvious question. Why can't we just have one plug? Think about it like shoes. A hiking boot, a dress shoe, and a flip-flop all cover your foot. But they're built for completely different situations. USB is the same idea. Different devices needed different sizes, different durabilities, and different amounts of power or data throughput. The Universal Serial Bus Standard was introduced in 1996, led by a coalition including Intel, IBM, and Microsoft. The whole point was to replace the chaos of serial ports, parallel ports, and PS2 connectors with one unified system. In a lot of ways, it worked brilliantly, but as devices shrank from desktops to laptops to pocket-sized phones, the connectors had to shrink too. According to the USB Implementers Forum, there are now over 10 billion USB-enabled devices in use worldwide. 10 billion. With that scale, even small design decisions ripple out for decades. That's why some of these old connector shapes are still floating around in 2024. So let's go through them. Fastest to understand first. USB Type-A is the one you already know. Rectangular, wide, slightly too thick to fit into anything elegant. It's been on virtually every computer since the late 90s, and it's still on your TV, your gaming console, your laptop hub, and probably 3 charger bricks in your house right now. Here's one fun frustration fact. USB-A is not reversible. It has a definite top and bottom. A 2015 study by tech blogger Scott Hanselman found that people get the orientation wrong on the first try about 50% of the time. So statistically, you flip it, try again, and then, somehow, flip it back to how you started. We've all been there. USB-A was designed to go on the host side. Computers, chargers, hubs. It's not meant to be the plug you stick into the device itself. That's where USB Type-B comes in. Type-B is the squarish connector with slightly beveled top corners, and you've almost certainly only ever seen it on a printer or a scanner. It's chunky and oddly shaped on purpose. It was designed for stationary desktop peripherals that don't move, so size was never a priority. Here's the thing, though. Most people have never had to buy a USB-B cable in their life. You plug in a printer, it works. You forget it exists. That's kind of the whole point. But wait, what happened when devices started getting smaller? That's where things get interesting. By the early 2000s, digital cameras, MP3 players, and GPS devices were everywhere. USB-A and USB-B were way too big for them. So engineers created Mini USB. Mini USB is that slightly trapezoidal 5-pin connector you'll find on older cameras and early portable devices. It's significantly smaller than Type-B, but still noticeably chunkier than what came next. For context, if USB-A is a hiking boot, Mini USB is a sneaker. Smaller, more versatile, but still not quite right for the job. It wasn't perfect. The connectors wore out quickly with repeated plugging and unplugging. So in 2007, the USB Implementers Forum standardized micro USB as the new small device connector. Thinner, more durable by spec, and critically, it became the mandatory charging standard for mobile phones in the European Union by 2009. For almost a decade, micro USB was the universal phone charger. Android phones, Bluetooth speakers, power banks, wireless headphones, basically anything that wasn't Apple ran on micro USB. Here's a stat that puts this in perspective. As of 2022, over 65% of power bank products on Amazon still use micro USB for charging. It's technically the past, but it has not gone away. Now here's where I need to flag something. There's actually a variant of micro USB you've probably seen and never understood. It's called Micro B Super Speed, or the USB 3.0 Micro B connector. It's that awkward double-wide plug on older external hard drives. It looks like someone glued a regular micro USB and a tiny extra section together, because that's essentially what it is. It's backward compatible with standard micro USB ports, but that extra section carries the USB 3.0 data lanes for faster speeds. Ugly? Yes. Functional? Absolutely. So now you've got Type A, Type B, Mini, and Micro. That's already 4 connectors, and we haven't even gotten to the one you actually use every day. And here's the thing. When we do get there, the twist I mentioned at the start will finally make sense. Keep watching. In 2014, the USB Implementers Forum introduced USB Type-C, oval-shaped, fully reversible, small enough for phones, powerful enough for laptops, one connector standard to rule them all, and it really has become dominant. As of 2023, Apple switched the iPhone to USB-C after years of lightning resistance, in large part due to EU regulation mandating a common charger standard by 2024. The EU's Common Charger Directive was specifically designed to reduce the 11,000 tons of electronic waste generated annually in Europe by redundant cables. USB-C works as a power cable, a data cable, a video output, and in some cases, an Ethernet connection, all through the same port. That's genuinely remarkable. A single cable type connecting your phone, your laptop, your monitor, and your tablet. But here's the catch, and this is the part people get burned by all the time. USB-C is a connector shape, not a speed or capability standard. 2 cables can look absolutely identical, be the same USB-C connector, and one transfers data 40 times faster than the other. One can charge a laptop, one can barely charge a phone. This is the twist I teased at the start. The cable that was supposed to simplify everything has created a brand new kind of confusion, one that's invisible. At least with the old connector zoo, different shapes told you something. With USB-C, you can't tell from the plug alone what it can do, which is exactly why understanding the shapes, what this video is about, is step 1. Step 2 is understanding the standards and versions. But that's a different video. So why did we end up with this whole family of connectors instead of just getting it right once? 3 forces. First, miniaturization. Devices got dramatically smaller between 1996 and today. A 1999 desktop computer and a 2024 smartphone are both USB devices, but one weighs 15 pounds and the other fits in your pocket. The connector had to follow the hardware. Second, the reversibility problem. USB-A's one-way design was a known frustration from day one, but changing it required rebuilding the standard from scratch. It took nearly 20 years, from USB 1.0 in 1996 to USB-C in 2014, before the industry finally committed to a reversible design. Third, multi-purpose cables. Early USB was basically for data transfer and low-power charging. Modern USB-C carries power delivery up to 240 watts, video output, including 4K and 8K signals, audio, data, and networking, simultaneously. The physical connector needed to evolve to support all of that. These aren't design failures, they're snapshots of different eras in tech, which is actually kind of cool if you think about it. So here's your takeaway. Simple and clean. USB-A, your classic host connector. Still everywhere. USB-B, printers and scanners only. Mini USB, legacy, mostly dead. Micro, USB, old phones, still lives in accessories. USB-C, the modern standard. But remember, the shape doesn't tell you the capability. Micro B 3.0, that weird chunky plug on old external hard drives. The connector zoo exists because technology didn't stand still, and neither did the USB standard. And remember the twist, the cable that looks the most uniform, USB-C, is actually hiding more variation than any connector that came before it. Identical on the outside, completely different on the inside. If this cleared up any cable confusion, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people. Subscribe if you want the follow-up video on USB versions and speeds, because that's where it gets really wild. And drop a comment. Which USB connector gave you the most grief over the years? Mine was definitely that Micro B 3.0 on a hard drive at 2 a.m. I don't want to talk about it. See you in the next one.